our drivers, they were going back to their villages. And in fact, many of them told me, yes, we might die. We, in the People's Archive of Rural India, of which I'm founder editor, we focused on these people. We did 270 stories on livelihoods under lockdown. Many of them told me, yes, we might die, but better to die at home with the loved ones, amidst loved ones, than to die here amongst people who don't care for us. So then you had the media asking the question, why are they going back? That was the wrong question. And it shows how little you know of the country. The real question was not why are they going back. The real question was, why did they leave their villages in the first place and come here? And the answer was two words: agrarian crisis. We never addressed, even today, where is that agrarian crisis in public discourse, which has seen 4 lakh farmers take their own lives in suicide? Your media are not serving you. They are not serving you. They are not serving the public. If they will not talk about rural India, at least let the rest of us talk about rural India. And yet there are many more reasons why you need to be talking about rural India. Do you know that your constitution binds you? It binds you. The Constitution of India, which I take as the finest distillation, the finest essence of the freedom struggle, the ideals of the freedom struggle, it binds you to achieving justice for all, social, economic, and political. And it is not an accident, in my view, it is not an accident that the writers, the framers of the Constitution, put social first. It was a very deliberate choice. Social, economic, and political. And Tamil Nadu, and the other thing, what is the argument? In the directive principles of state policy, and in the preamble, and in the fundamental rights, they are enjoining on you to build a great welfare state. My home state of Tamil Nadu has always sought to be in the forefront of both welfare measures and movements for justice. Yeah? And I think that it is absolutely imperative, when speaking of welfare state, just before this meeting, we were talking about it. I learned that the person who presided over the free breakfast thing is with us. I think this is a great scheme, and I think it is a fitting follow-up to the midday meal. I think this is the way to go. And to think that these are being denounced, these kind of actions and a number of other welfarist measures are being denounced as freebies, are being, doing your duty to the Constitution, to the promises and pledges of the Constitution of India. If that is for freebies, I want everybody to be for freebies. It is an absolute outrage that this sort of maligning of welfareism is going on. What is so important about free breakfast? What is so important about midday meal? Just consider, this is a nation that has fallen to rank 107 out of 121 in the Global Hunger Index. Rwanda is handling, which has had civil war and genocide for 10 years, is handling its hunger problems better than we are. Of course, immediately when this index, Global Hunger Index figure comes out, Government of India declares that it is a conspiracy against us. Then we are 100 and we are number 3 in the world in dollar billionaires. We did not have one before 91. Today we have $160 billionaires, which goes entirely against the spirit of the Constitution, which calls for mitigating inequality, not only for mitigating inequality, but for ensuring that the resources of the society are not concentrated in the hands of few. And you have $160 billionaires on the Forbes list who own wealth as of October 2022. Their wealth is equivalent to 24 to 26% of your gross domestic product. The top two billionaires, Mr. Ambani's personal wealth, if you look at the Forbes list, is greater than the GDP of Punjab, GSDP of Punjab. Mr. Adani's personal wealth is greater than the GSDP of Haryana. And you want to know, and should you be wondering why all those farmers were so angry with these two gentlemen who were being handed over the agriculture of these states on a platter? So you really have a lot of reason to talk about rural India. Apart from 107 out of 121 on the global hunger index, number three on the billionaires list, and 132 out of 190 on the UN Human Development Index, on the United Nations Human Development Index, and worst of all, 180 out of 180 in the Environmental Performance Index. That means we are at the bottom of 180 nations in that index. The only index that the government of India accepts as true is the Forbes index. How well we have done. An Indian is the third richest man in the world. So we are very proud of that. We need desperately to rebuild and to further build the welfare state that the freedom fighters, the freedom struggle, the Constitution of India envisaged for the people of this nation. And I think the justice must be our prism. Everything. I think when in my journal, you can talk about climate change, but in responding to it, we talk about climate justice. We talk about food justice. We talk about health justice. Look at what happened in the pandemic to people's rights to health. I want to draw this to a little close on the climate issue. You are Environmental Performance Index at the bottom, 180 out of 180. I think this is one of the issues of greatest urgency for policymakers and administrators, not making speeches at COP27. Please understand that Tamil Nadu is going to be one of the worst affected states in this. Coastal and peninsular India is already taking a big hit in climate change. It is taking a very, very big hit. And the most vulnerable peoples amongst you are fishing communities along the long coastline of this wonderful state. The fishing community, and many people don't believe it, don't seem to know that Tamil Nadu also has pastoral nomads, like the sheep herders who move between Tirunelveli and Thoothukudi. Okay? The ancient communities that have been around forever. It is quite frightening what it has already done to food production in many parts of the country. The wheat harvest in Punjab crashed with excessive heat. Yeah. It's interesting to me though that the ancient Tamils had a sense of the correct approach to agriculture. Not only in their divisions of land, classification of Kurinji and Mulay and Palay, not just that, but in understanding what crops are correct for what region, what crops should be grown where. All that has gone kaput in the last 100 years, and especially in the last 50, and severely in the last 30. You know, it becomes absurd if you're going to try growing paddy in Barmer because there is subsidy for paddy. It doesn't make sense. In Tamil Nadu, I really think, and it is very clear to me looking at the ancient Tamils and their literature, that they had a key understanding of what we desperately need to revive in our agriculture, which is an agro-ecological approach to agriculture. an agroecological approach. Consider that the ancient crops of Tamil Nadu like ragi, these are, you find them embedded in Sangam poetry. You find 2000, 2500 years ago people were writing about something, which means that it had already evolved over a very long period. If we cannot restore agroecology to our consciousness, believe me, we are in serious trouble. You will not be able to build climate resilience in your agriculture, and I think we are running out of time. And I too am running out of time. So I will just say this, we approach it. I think that the most important part of the Constitution today is the directive principles of state policy. What it promised people, a vision of what this country could be. And I think combining that with your preamble and your rights, everything we do, a policy maker, if asked to use a single prism, do it through that prism of justice. Thank you.